Chapter 111, Can't Beat the Wife. Of course, Fang Hao deliberately said that, he wanted to make his wife anxious. I said I would retaliate against you and your lover. Are you nervous now? Isn't cheating exciting? Well, now you wait to be exposed and wait for my revenge. Do you really think that cheating has no consequences? Do you think putting a cuckold on me means nothing? Do you think sleeping with my wife means nothing? I will retaliate against you, I will cripple you. I will make you regret and suffer. Don't worry, Mom will be fine. Fang Hao steered the conversation back. The adulterer had no leads, and he couldn't retaliate immediately, thinking too much made him uncomfortable. The fact that his wife cheated was established, and divorce was the next step, no need to consider these anymore. What he needed to do was improve himself. The adulterer couldn't hide forever. Fang Hao had obtained the list of all rehabilitation personnel in the sanatorium for the past 2 years. Even if he was a high-profile figure, there would be records. Jiangdong may be big or small, but the adulterer was a middle-aged man with a good social standing, connected to the Su family. Maybe there was interaction when his wife was young and infatuated. Such people, although secretive, once exposed, would face social death. So, Fang Hao believed that catching the guy was only a matter of time. After taking care of his mother-in-law's treatment, Fang Hao went to the traditional Chinese medicine hospital. The young man's recovery was even better. Fang Hao was more pleased, thinking that he could publish a research paper soon. Su Ro came to the provincial people's hospital and met Sun Sini. Sister Sun, I'm here to see you. If you have any requests, just let me know, and we'll try our best to fulfill them. Su Ro presented a fruit basket and spoke politely. She represented the company's identity. After all, she was Sun Sini's superior. Thank you for your concern. I'm fine. I think I'm not suitable to continue working in the company after I'm discharged. At that time, I will resign. Let's talk about this after you're discharged. The company is very considerate, and you won't be treated unfairly. What you need to do now is to rest and recover as soon as possible. Su Ro asked the caregiver to leave, took out her phone, opened a testing app, and checked for any listening devices in the surroundings. Once assured, she felt more at ease. As expected, Sun Sini directly asked, Su Ro, did you do this to me? Su Ro squinted her eyes and said, No. Impossible. My husband doesn't know about my affair. Maybe not. Even if your husband doesn't know, don't others know? You, doing this, should be aware of the consequences. Su Ro, you and I are the same kind of people. You've cheated too. Fang Hao knows, he must know, and your fate will be the same as mine. You are you, and I am me. I love my husband very much. As for you, you don't love your husband at all, so you end up like this. My husband is very picky, he has seen good things before. Therefore, he won't be interested in you. Your seduction will only disgust him. Su Ro, you are not a good person either. You are also rotten. If I had a husband like Fang Hao, I would cherish him and keep him in my hands. Unfortunately, you took advantage. Su Ro, I envy you. I'm not as young and beautiful as you, but it's not much different. Why is my husband so mediocre, and your husband is so handsome and young? I am very unwilling, I want to snatch him away. So, this is the reason you're lying here. You shouldn't covet things that don't belong to you. Sun Sini, face the reality. You come from the countryside, married your current husband because he's a public servant with a decent job and a house. In the School of Finance and Economics, you had 2 boyfriends, went through an abortion, and got into Yue Xia's company. I've checked it all. You? Sun Sini didn't expect Su Ro to uncover her past so thoroughly. She majored in accounting at the School of Finance and Economics. When she was young, her large chest attracted attention, and she couldn't resist relationships. At one point, she got pregnant, disrupting her studies. To enter the current company during the job application season, she submitted a resume and also knocked on a certain interviewer's door at night. These were all dark histories that Su Ro dug up, and Sun Sini realized she had lost in the struggle against Su Ro. After recovery, don't stay in Jiangdong City. I'll consider it a farewell between colleagues and compensate you according to the highest standards of the company for the corresponding position. Don't see my husband in the hospital either. Su Ro glanced at Sun Sini, casting a winner's disdainful gaze on the loser, then left. Sun Sini was no match at all. Her real opponent now was that smart and excellent husband. From the private detective's report, she could clearly know everything about Fang Hao's activities at the traditional Chinese medicine hospital, focusing solely on treatment. But this intense focus on treatment, seemingly Fang Hao being busy with his job, made Suro feel very uneasy. Because she couldn't fathom Fang Hao's intentions. Fang Hao found out about Tianji Feng from a delivery. The speed terrified her. She also made a mistake by assuming Fang Hao wouldn't come to her company, so she interacted so boldly with her lover. In front of Fang Hao, she maintained a pure and innocent image. Now, with this provocative little outfit, wouldn't her image collapse? Of course, the root cause of all this was Fang Hao holding some deadly leverage over her. Fang Hao appeared calm, but she knew it was a sign of an impending storm. Her husband probably didn't know who he was, just that he existed. Not knowing who he was meant no evidence. On this point, Suro vaguely felt a bit relieved, hoping to keep Fang Hao forever from finding out who that person was by some stroke of luck. After acupuncture, Fang Hao returned to the Provincial People's Hospital to report on the condition of myasthenia gravis to Lu Jing. Lu Jing looked at the first-hand treatment data, and she was also very pleased. She said, "Fang Hao, actually, you can independently publish this article. You don't need to go through me, or your mentor." Fang Hao replied, "Director, without you, I wouldn't have had the opportunity to encounter this case. Moreover, the repercussions from this case might be more than a small doctor like me can handle. I need you as a big tree to shelter me from the wind and rain." "What big tree?" "You are my big tree. Look, the 3 previous papers and this treatment result, they are all your achievements. Yet you share them with me. Including old Zhang's surgery and treatment plan, I owe you a lot. Director, let's not talk about these polite words. Let's consider it mutually beneficial." Chapter 112. I'm struggling. Midnight. Fang Hao walked out of the hospital and saw his wife's car. He told her not to pick him up, but she insisted. What a touching scene it would be for the First Lady of Jiangdong to wait for her husband late at night. Unfortunately, she was an unfaithful woman. "Suro, if only you hadn't cheated, how good would that be?" Fang Hao's heart was moved yet conflicted. Upon returning home and freshening up, when his wife approached, they passionately embraced each other once again. His wife had desires and enjoyed the enthusiasm of the young Fang Hao. Additionally, she wanted to use her tender charm to make Fang Hao realize her worth and become inseparable from her. Meanwhile, Fang Hao was conflicted, knowing that divorce was imminent. However, there was a slight reluctance. Simultaneously, during the conquest of his wife, he vaguely felt a sense of accomplishment. Conquering the First Lady of Jiangdong was an achievement in itself. There was also a taste of revenge. The unfaithful woman couldn't find satisfaction with her lover, and now that Fang Hao satisfied her, he would divorce her. Let's see what she would do next, go out and find wild men, completely ruining herself. What Fang Hao wanted was to tarnish her reputation. The next day, early in the morning, Fang Hao received a call from Lu Yu, saying that Han Yun had some personal matters to attend to today, and it would be best to finish treatment before 8:30 a.m. He hurriedly packed up. "Honey, is it so urgent? You only slept for a little over 3 hours. Why not catch up on some sleep?" "It's okay, I'm used to it. I'll catch up on sleep when I have the chance during the day. I'll drive you." "No need, you still need to take Jiajiao and the others to kindergarten." "Alright, don't tire yourself out too much, my love." After bidding farewell to his wife, Fang Hao left. In the elevator, he touched the corner of his mouth that his wife had kissed, feeling a mix of sweetness, shame, and disgust. Lu Yu couldn't make it to the sanatorium today, so Fang Hao had to go alone. At the sanatorium, Han Yun was exercising, accompanied by her granddaughter Meng Yu. Meng Yu wore tight-fitting workout pants, showcasing her well-defined figure. Faintly visible was a butterfly-shaped object underneath. "Grandma, you look much better today." "Yes, today is indeed much smoother than yesterday. The paralysis on one side of my body, which has troubled me for many years, has also improved a lot. It seems that Dr. Fang Hao really has some skills. He has achieved what others couldn't do in more than 10 years. I owe him a favor. Ah, you girl, if you were born a few years earlier, I would have married you to him. Unfortunately, he already has a wife. Then let him divorce, and I'll marry him." "Don't be silly. He is your Aunt Zhou's son-in-law. Don't mess around." "I know." Thinking about snatching someone else's husband, Meng Yu's heart trembled. She weighed the fact that Fang Hao was handsome, with a clean background and profession. Now that he had won Grandma's favor, he would likely be needed for Grandma's health in the future. If Fang Hao became Grandma's son-in-law, it would ensure Grandma's well-being. So, this man was worth snatching. Not long after, Fang Hao arrived. After a thorough examination, he said, "Your recovery is excellent. You can almost consider yourself back to normal. After today's treatment in the morning, acupuncture can be stopped in the afternoon. Continue the herbal medicine for 2 more days to consolidate the recovery." He had some doubts but didn't express them. With Han Yun's background, he might not be the only one involved in her treatment. Han Yun was also very happy, looking relaxed, prompting Fang Hao to quickly administer acupuncture. After the treatment, Fang Hao tidied up and left. As for the remuneration, he didn't dare to bring it up and couldn't bring it up. Someone with Han Yun's background would certainly know about reciprocity. However, this favor wouldn't directly benefit him but would go through Lu Yu. Carrying his medical kit, Fang Hao walked towards the exit of the sanatorium. The taxi he called didn't wait for him and left, making him feel a bit annoyed. It wasn't easy to get a cab in the outskirts. As he walked, not long after, he saw Han Yun's convoy leaving. Han Yun was in a luxury red flag sedan with top-notch features. After the convoy passed, a convertible sports car approached Fang Hao and stopped beside him. The driver was Meng Yu. Fang Hao sighed inwardly, observing the top-notch sedan that Han Yun used for travel and the sports car driven by Meng Yu. This was indeed the preferred mode of transportation for the upper class. Without hesitation, he accepted a ride from Meng Yu. "Today, don't go to work at the hospital. Let me take you for a day out," Meng Yu said directly. Her hair was partly wet, fluttering in the wind, and she wore sunglasses, a casual t-shirt, exuding a youthful vibe. "I can't skip work. I have to go to the traditional Chinese medicine hospital later for acupuncture on a patient." "That myasthenia gravis patient? I checked, isn't it incurable? Why bother with such futile efforts?" Fang Hao felt a bit annoyed. His wife might have someone following him, investigating him to see if he had any suspicious evidence. If found, it could be used against him. Now, Meng Yu was also investigating him, ensuring he wouldn't harm Han Yun. This kind of harm was subtle, not a direct attack. Fang Hao said, "It indeed can't be cured, but it still needs treatment. Stabilizing the condition is a victory in itself." "Fang Hao, you're a bit much. I invited you to dinner, and you refused. Now I offer to take you out for a day, and you reject that too. Do you not consider me important? Do you think I'm someone you can bully?" Meng Yu was displeased. "You can't work without me, and I'll make sure you have a good time today." Fang Hao wasn't afraid, saying, "Without merit, no reward. You helped my grandma, I invited you to dinner, and you're treating me like this? Do you think I'm easy to deal with? That's what a small person like me deserves. I can't join you for dinner, it's beyond my league. But I want to treat you to a meal. Even a small person like you dares to refuse me. You're quite bold. A small person is pitiful. If I don't work, I'll be fired. If I don't dine with you, I'll offend you. It's tough. By the way, are you the kind of person who can't get along with small people? You're quite smart. Today, I'm in a good mood, so I won't argue with you." She stopped at the intersection near the bus stop and said, "Beg me, and I'll give you another ride. In that case, goodbye." Fang Hao got off the car, ignoring Meng Yu. Seeing a city bus approaching, he waved it down. "Small person, don't you know that following me, you won't have to struggle anymore? But you're so stubborn. Is it because of your woman? Sister Suro, we haven't seen each other for a long time." Meng Yu watched as Fang Hao chose to take the city bus instead of her sports car, looking quite displeased. Little did she know, the Suro she wanted to meet was at home, and an unexpected guest had arrived. Hearing the sound of the door unlocking, Suro thought it was her husband Fang Hao. When she came out to check, she was shocked and trembling because he had arrived. Chapter 113, Patient's Regret. "Susu, come here." After closing the door, he opened his arms, waiting for Suro to embrace him. This scene was very familiar to him. However, today, Suro shook her head and said, "No, don't come looking for me anymore. Let's break up." The man was dissatisfied. "Susu, what are you saying? Break up? Did you get my consent? You dare to say such things without my agreement, you're quite bold. My husband is keeping a close eye on me. If we don't break up, sooner or later, he will find out. When that happens, he might divorce me. What should I do then?" As Suro stepped back, reaching a point where she could no longer retreat, the man grabbed her. She hugged herself tightly, not actively participating but not resisting either. He won't find out. Why wouldn't he? He placed a voice recorder in my car, installed cameras at home, tracked down the guest house, found the rehabilitation center, and even got hold of the package you sent to my company. He has investigated everything, including Tianji Peak. Besides, I always feel that he still has something on me. As long as he reveals it, I won't be able to salvage this marriage. Think about it for me. I'm really tired. I said he won't find out, so he won't. Do you doubt my capabilities? What will you do? Can bringing out Zhou Jiezhou erase my existence? Don't underestimate Fang Hao, he's very clever. Clever? If he were clever, he would have found me in these 4 years. The man sneered, lowering his head as if to kiss Su Ro. However, she evaded him, and he grabbed her chin, making it impossible for her to move or resist. But at that moment, the doorbell rang. Su Ro shivered and quickly pushed the man away. She went to check through the peephole and saw the neighbor Rui Li. Turning back to the man, she said, "Hide for now, don't come out. Rui Li and I will leave first. Wait for your signal before leaving." "Susu, I feel I'm capable now. Let's do it again, let me satisfy you. My husband can satisfy me. I won't do it with you again. Hide quickly, or we'll all be in trouble." Suro's tone was firm. "Susu, you're being naughty." The man's face darkened a bit, but he quickly walked towards the study and closed the door. He knew that Su-ro meant what she said. Su-ro quickly adjusted her mood, then opened the door. "Xiao-ro, I saw your car downstairs, and you weren't at work. How about we go out for a stroll?" "Sure." Su-ro didn't want to stay at home to avoid being harassed by that man. She knew that if he insisted, she might not have the courage to resist. Even if he claimed he was now capable, satisfying her, his abilities in that aspect were not on the same level as her husband's. However, over the years, she had never refused any of his requests. Listening to him had become a habit. After getting in the car, she quickly sent him a message, telling him to leave immediately and not stay at home, as Fang Hao was not on duty during the day and could return at any time. Even though she had just updated the information from the private detective, Fang Hao was currently at the traditional Chinese medicine hospital. She reminded herself that although Fang Hao was investigating her now and treating her mother, she couldn't betray him at this critical moment. Otherwise, as her mother said, it would mean there was something wrong with her character. But she also felt a bit lost. In the traditional Chinese medicine hospital, Fang Hao waited in the ward for quite a while, but the young man didn't return. He became a bit impatient. "Go for a checkup, please hurry. I need to go to Jiangdong University to treat my mother-in-law at noon. I've already informed you that I would come for treatment, and you should be prepared. However, when I arrived, I was told to wait for another half an hour. This isn't right." He thought if it didn't work out, he could come back in the afternoon. After sitting in the ward for half an hour, he went to the nurse station and told a nurse, "Please inform the patient that I'll come back to treat him later." The nurse recalled something and said, "Dr. Fang, that patient is going to be transferred back to the Provincial People's Hospital, right?" "Oh, transferred back to the Provincial People's Hospital? Why haven't I heard about it? I saw a doctor from the Provincial People's Hospital talking to him just now, saying that they will continue the treatment there. You can ask the patient's family for confirmation. Look, the family is back." The nurse peeked out and saw the old farmer returning along the safe passage. Fang Hao approached, intending to speak, but the old farmer walked past him without raising his head. Following him, Fang Hao said, "Uncle, I'm talking to you, why are you avoiding me?" "Dr. Fang, there's no need for you to treat my dog's illness. Thank you for your efforts these days." "Thank you." "Uncle, what are you talking about? Why don't you need my treatment? Then who will treat you?" "Your director Zhou, he said to transfer the dog to the Provincial People's Hospital for treatment." "Director Zhou? He's treating you?" "Yes, he promised to treat the dog." "Dr. Fang, thank you." The old farmer didn't dare to look at Fang Hao and left directly. Fang Hao was very angry and wanted to hit someone, but he restrained himself. He contacted Vice Dean Jin Feng, who was still at home and unaware of the situation. Jin Feng checked and found out that the handover was done under the leadership of the hospital director, and Zhou Long Fang Hao had no choice but to accept it. He reported the situation to Lu Jing, who was also surprised. She asked him not to act impulsively, to keep the first-hand treatment plan safe, and to return to the Provincial People's Hospital first. When Fang Hao arrived at the Provincial People's Hospital, he met Lu Jing and asked directly, "Director, have you figured out what happened? What's going on?" Lu Jing asked Fang Hao to go back to the office first, and then she explained, it was led by Zhou Long. I don't know how he found out that he could treat myasthenia gravis. He went to see the patient's condition, gave the old farmers some money, and persuaded them to change their minds, not letting you treat. I just saw the patient, and he's almost recovered. Lao Jin also said that Zhou Long's people have taken all the treatment plan records related to patients. Zhou Long is too despicable this time, he plucked our fruit. Fang Hao understood the whole story now and once again deeply believed in the inherent evil of human nature. He asked, "Director, what will Zhou Long do if he gets the plan?" "What else can he do? He will definitely publish a paper, create a sensation, and then establish a myasthenia gravis treatment center at the Provincial People's Hospital. By then, he will make a big fuss. He's been eyeing the position of the hospital director for a long time. With myasthenia gravis as a boost, he'll secure the position." "Fang Hao, I didn't expect Zhou Long to be so despicable, letting him take away the fruits of your labor." After a moment of contemplation, Fang Hao asked, "Director, if Zhou Long gets the plan, will it be of any use?" "Well, how do you say that? The plan I recorded wasn't complete. First, the time was tight, and second, I didn't want to record it because I had to organize it later. What I organize is the complete one. Moreover, the key is acupuncture. In fact, there are 3 more courses in the later stage to achieve complete balance. Otherwise, it will relapse soon. I think Director Zhou will definitely come to me for the detailed plan. If Zhou Long comes to you, don't give it to him. Let him figure it out himself. If he comes to you, push him to my side. Keep the plan to yourself, and don't give it to your master either." "Oh, Fang Hao, the treatment at the sanatorium is over, and you're free now. During the day, you can rest or substitute for a few diagnostic courses for me." "Okay, I'll go for the classes. Start this afternoon?" "No problem." Chapter 114, Daughter, You've Become an Ordinary Person. Fortunately, my husband is really back home. In the mall, while Rueli was trying on clothes, Suro took a moment to check the private detective's information. She found out that Fang Hao had left the traditional Chinese medicine hospital and returned to the Provincial People's Hospital. Seeing a Mercedes car, he went straight back to the residential area. Without surveillance cameras at home, Suro had no idea what Fang Hao was doing inside. She also knew that the other person had left, so she wasn't worried about Fang Hao meeting him. There was no battlefield between them at home, so they wouldn't expose anything. She just hoped that the other person wouldn't cause trouble at home, otherwise, it would be hard for her to explain. Not in the mood for shopping, Suro casually bought 1 or 2 things, got something for Fang Hao, and went back home. Seeing that the house still looked the same as in the morning and her husband was busy working in the study, she felt relieved. However, her husband seemed a bit unhappy, causing her some hidden concerns. At noon, Suro invited Rueli to have lunch together, which was essentially the 2 of them cooking together. Knowing that she couldn't replicate Fang Hao's culinary skills and considering Fang Hao's sensitivity to cooking fumes, Suro didn't want him to enter the kitchen. She sought guidance from Rueli instead. Suro also brought some meals to her mother, accompanying Fang Hao in treating her. After the treatment, when her mother noticed that Fang Hao didn't leave, she observed him looking at lecture materials and asked, "Are you going to substitute teach?" "Yes. Our director has diagnostic classes, but she's too busy at the hospital and can't make it. She asked me to help her with the classes. She'll pay me for it." Fang Hao didn't hide anything. Seeing her daughter beside her, her mother remarked, "Look at you, you didn't inherit your father's and my educational career. You've become an ordinary person. Both your father and I are professors, but why don't you like studying?" On the other hand, Fang Hao is now pursuing a PhD, and he can even teach students. Becoming an ordinary person? Fang Hao found this interesting. His mother-in-law seemed to inherently consider herself superior. But this wasn't surprising. After all, she was a university math professor with an excellent family background. She had been a math prodigy since childhood, exceptionally intelligent, and was considered a pride of heaven. "Mom, I think it's fine this way. I wasn't cut out for studying to death." "No, you were. But once you fell in love with music, chess, calligraphy, and painting, you stopped reading. Look at Fang Hao, he can absorb everything now. He will go further than your father and me in the future." Great, then my husband can also become a professor, and you three will be professors. How wonderful. Shuro chekel. Hee, no, I'd rather remain as the rural guy in your mom's mouth. Fang Hao thought to himself, after the divorce, I'll be myself. Who wants to be a professor with you three? His phone rang, and it was Lu Jing. He went outside to answer it. Downstairs, in the car, he called back, saying, Director, I'm available to talk now. What's up? Fang Hao, did Zhou Long find you? No. If he wants to find me, he won't really need the treatment plan, right? He definitely wants it. He just talked to the dean about treating myasthenia gravis. The dean asked me about it, and I told him it was in Zhou Long's hands. I didn't say you have the complete one. If the dean asks you, don't say anything. Keep it under wraps for now. Alright. I'll follow your instructions, Director. Okay, where are you now? I'm at Jiangdong University. I won't disturb you, then. Fang Hao hung up the phone, got out of the car, and saw a woman coming out of a nearby car. It was Yue Xia Huo. Yue Xia Huo didn't look in Fang Hao's direction but walked straight into the building. Yue Xia Huo also lives here? One day, according to Yue Xia Huo's introduction, she was a student at the School of Arts at Jiangdong University. However, this wasn't a student dormitory. Why did she come here? Whenever Fang Hao thought of Yue Xia Huo, he couldn't help but recall the affair his wife had. It felt like a lump in his throat. He took out a cigarette and started puffing away. Honey, your smoke is so pungent. Your students might mistake you for a smoke ghost, Suro said, approaching Fang Hao and handing him a box of chewing gum, the Green Arrow brand. Green. Seeing the color on it, Fang Hao felt a bit uneasy. He didn't take it and said, maybe being a smoking teacher would make students remember me better. Honey, what's been going on with you lately? Your smoking habit seems to be getting worse. Is it because of stress? Why am I smoking so much? My wife is having an affair, my career isn't going well, I'm annoyed, troubled, and miserable. I want to kill someone. Fang Hao didn't retort like this. Instead, he said, maybe I'm getting old, and with age, the smoking habit grows. Seeing her mother coming downstairs, he quickly took a few more puffs, then extinguished the cigarette and threw it into the trash. If any of my students smoke, I'd seal their mouths, his mother remarked, passing by Fang Hao, giving him a stern look. Mom, your students are all female. What are they smoking? Besides, your students are all math geniuses, making a living with their brains. Sealing their mouths won't affect anything. Fang Hao awkwardly smiled, took his lecture materials, and left. At the fork in the road ahead, he and his mother parted ways. He headed to the School of Medicine. My husband didn't say goodbye to me, he didn't even look at me. Suro stood behind, feeling a bit absent-minded. Being ignored by Fang Hao made her feel very uneasy. Thinking of the person who came in the morning, she became even more restless. She followed up and arrived at the entrance of the classroom where her husband was teaching. She listened to Fang Hao's lecture. Although she couldn't understand the professional content, his powerful voice and fluent narrative style indicated that her husband had truly understood this field. He was insightful, demonstrating mastery effortlessly. Unconsciously, her husband had become so outstanding, or rather, he had always been so diligent in making himself excellent. She just hadn't seen it. If, 4 years ago, her husband was just a graduate from a rural university, lacking in various aspects compared to her, and his salary was pitifully low, her monthly income was higher than his annual salary. For the past 4 years, she had always been high and mighty, looking down on her husband. Now, looking at it, her husband had surpassed her in other aspects. She had been oblivious to it because she had always focused on her husband's unchanging financial situation, thinking he was useless. In fact, her husband was proficient in surgical techniques, acupuncture, medical theory, and had excellent culinary skills. Her husband was already so outstanding. However, in a moment of reflection, she also found her husband terrifying. With his intelligence and wit, investigating her affair might be only a matter of time. Honey, do you really want to divorce me? If we divorce, I won't give you anything. Everything you gained from my Sioux family, your career at the Provincial People's Hospital, I'll make sure you lose it. Honey, stop investigating me, and don't think about divorcing me. Can't we just live peacefully like this? Suro thought to herself, and as she did, her phone vibrated. She found a friend request from someone called Big Elephant Nose. Not again? Honey? Listening to her husband's voice in the classroom, she thought about how her husband was now in class and unable to investigate her. She clicked the agree button and added the person as a friend. Soon, she received an incredible message. The person was on campus, near her mother's teacher dormitory just now, and was currently with Yue Xia. The person invited her to join them for some fun. Chapter 115, Wife is Pregnant. Suro walked through the campus, torn by conflicting thoughts. The person she deleted was now with Yue Xia, and if she went over, she could experience some excitement. Especially since her husband was teaching here, being with that person would be stimulating to think about. She lightly bit her lip, facing a difficult decision. Suddenly, she thought of her mother's serious illness, and how Fang Hao was treating her. She couldn't betray her mother. If her mother found out about her reckless behavior right under her nose, she would be furious. Stimulation? My husband can give that to me, and what he gives is genuine. Suro thought for a moment and made the difficult choice to delete the friend request from that person. As she continued walking, she found a shaded chair and took a rest. From there, she noticed a pair of students not far away, embracing each other. The girl seemed hesitant, and the boy wanted more but lacked finesse, attempting futile advances. In broad daylight, it was more hugging and kissing than anything else. The scene was a bit comical. Suro couldn't help but smirk. Ah, the vanished days of youth. Oh. Suddenly, she felt a wave of nausea, a hint of retching. She hadn't eaten anything bad at lunch. Her menstrual cycle had been delayed for several days. Could she be pregnant? It was possible. They hadn't used any protection during their intimate moments these days, leaving everything inside. As Suro thought about this, the nausea intensified. If she was pregnant, it hadn't been long. Why such a strong reaction? She didn't dare to take it lightly. She returned to her mother's teacher dormitory and glanced at the floor where that person was located. She frowned, then got in her car and left. She went to the pharmacy, bought a pregnancy test, and tried it at home. 2 clear lines. Was she really pregnant? Suro felt a bit dazed. She was happy because she could be a mother again, but there was also a hidden danger. Her husband was investigating her affair, and if he found evidence during this time and they really divorced, the child would be troublesome. Ah, little third, your timing is off. Later, she went to the maternity and child health hospital for a checkup and found out she was indeed pregnant, normal pregnancy, and it was twins. 2 pregnancies, both twins. She was happy and proud. Originally, she planned to stop by the university and share the good news with Fang Hao, but when she arrived, Fang Hao had already finished class and left. She thought she would tell Fang Hao in the evening. On the other hand, Fang Hao was attending a meeting at the hospital, reminiscing about discipline and warning some departments that hadn't performed well in the preliminary assessments to do better in the future. This meeting lasted for more than an hour, even though such matters weren't crucial. The old dean just wanted to gather everyone to motivate them. Motivation and gathering, that was the main effect of such meetings. However, Fang Hao also experienced a setback. His emergency department was squeezed out and replaced by resident doctors and associate chief physicians. You see, this mobilization took away his emergency department. Coming down from the main building, Dr. Chen from the inpatient department mentioned that Sun Sini's condition had relapsed due to extremely poor mental health. Fang Hao decided to stop by and check on Sun Sini. As Dr. Chen mentioned, Sun Sini's mental state was indeed very poor, as if she had been struck by something. After a routine examination, with the caregiver asked to step out, Fang Hao inquired, "Miss Sun, don't you want to recover? My husband divorced me. He doesn't want me anymore." Sun Sini, in the same state as before, didn't want to talk to others but felt like confiding in Fang Hao. "Oh, this? For you, it might be a kind of liberation. You are free now. Of course, if you're not satisfied, you can wait for your husband to come out and have a good talk with him. Your husband chose you initially, so he must have liked you. His decision now is probably impulsive." Fang Hao consoled her, not expecting this woman to crumble at the news of a divorce. "I know you won't want me, so I can only find my husband. Oh, what about you? Have you found evidence of your wife's affair? How do I respond to that?" "Well, you've talked enough for today. Focus on recovering and don't think too much." "Fang Hao, your wife came to see me. She found out everything about me and set a trap for me, leading me to this situation. She said you belong to her and warned me not to have any thoughts about you. This is just a warning for me. Be careful of her. Don't overthink it. Fang Hao was taken aback, not saying much. His wife had managed to conceal her affair for 4 years, escaping his notice and even fooling her parents. Moreover, she had reached the level of senior financial director without any mistakes. This was a testament to her capability. Such a woman couldn't be considered simple. A woman with strong desires, who usually portrayed herself as innocent, was even more cunning. His wife was such a woman, and although she pretended to be innocent, her cunning nature was evident. Unfortunately, no matter how well she pretended, how deep her scheming was, could she escape scientific evidence? Explain to me, under what circumstances would a set of twins have 2 biological fathers? Come on, explain it to me. Fang Hao went to Director Lu Jing's office and saw a report on property, specifically about Tianji Peak. He asked directly, Director, do you have a house at Tianji Peak? Lower your voice. Director Lu Jing gave Fang Hao a white look. She had mentioned 500 houses to Fang Hao before, and she was afraid he would spread rumors. She lowered her voice and said, the houses at Tianji Peak are not like cabbages. Even old Zhang finds it hard to invest there. The houses there are being speculated at over $1 billion. The real value for money may not be the best. What about those houses? Old Zhang wants to invest but can't get in. The value of the houses there has skyrocketed to $1 billion. The true value for money may not be the best. Fang Hao shook his head with a bitter smile and said, my goal is to have my own house at Tianji Peak. I used to dream of doing business worth billions every day. It's not impossible. With your medical skills, if you encounter the right opportunity, you have a chance. It depends on whether you can seize it. Director, I'd like to know more. I can't say for sure about that. Talk to old Zhang another day. He's the best at navigating these twists and turns. Oh, and don't let him lead you astray and affect your medical skills. Old Zhang initially loved researching medical skills and theories, but he found that making money in the pharmaceutical business was faster than being a doctor. So, he delved into buying and selling pharmaceuticals. Now, he's completely forgotten how to treat a common cold. Mr. Zhang doesn't need to worry about small ailments with you around. From what Lu Jing said about Zhang Jun, Fang Hao could see that she probably married for love. Since she found out that Zhang Jun had 500 houses, he was even more convinced of this. Master, you don't have 500 houses, so you don't understand love.